Liz Brown Swanson, and welcome to Scoop Manchester. I am here with Erica Brown in her offices, the new Manchester Cricket location, right here at 11 Beach Street. She's at downtown Erica Brown.
Exactly.
Thank you for letting me come here, and this is where we're going to do Scoop from.
I love it. I love it.
Scoop, and a lot is happening in our town.
Yes.
I want to find out though, things are going well.
Things are going well. There's been a lot of things, and it's very odd because you and I have been sort of talking about it, sort of distanced from with Zoom, and now we're here together, and it's fantastic, and a lot of stuff is going on.
Yes. Well, we're going to start off with big breaking news here in the cricket, and it's lead story, and you guys broke the story here that they are going to be renaming Agassiz Rock in Manchester, of course, a property that all of us we grew up in town going to, a beloved property for hiking. But due to the namesake and his legacy, that's been questioned by the trustees to a point that they're going to change the name. So talk about what you unfolded here and what's going on with that name change.
Yeah, well, Agassiz Rock is one of the trustees' 120 properties across the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. It is 143 acres in Upper School Street, and it has been with the trustees since 1957, I believe, and it's been a hiking trail with the name Agassiz since 1875, the year after Louis Agassiz died.
Almost 150 years that
Exactly.
that was named after him. So tell us about Agassiz. Why is they needed to strip his name from it?
Well, we reached out to the trustees a couple of weeks ago because this came up in the Board of Selectmen meeting a couple of weeks ago, but it came up in a really sort of subtle way. It was under the correspondence that they needed to sort of just register. And this comes up from time to time. Louis Agassiz was a scientist. He's really credited with, and this is why Agassiz Rock, Big Agassiz and Little Agassiz are named that. He did research and he really observed and supported the theory that the Ice Age was what disrupted and created these rock formations, mm-hmm. which was sort of new and scientifically novel. So we can start there.
Right. So he was a great scientist in terms of geology. He was a Harvard professor also as well, and I think the Harvard School of Zoology he started. So all of that science is to be true, but it was part of another scientific research he was doing that was really basically looking into the theory that, about white supremacy and that black people and other races were inferior and all of that. And when you read his record, his own publishings, it is disturbing. Personally, for me, it was.
Yeah, he was part of a movement and supported a movement in the mid-1800s called polygenism, which was the theory that each different race came from a different genetic heritage and point, and that white Caucasians were actually intellectually and otherwise superior. And that was where that was really his life's work, to be honest with you. The Ice Age and the Ice Age theories were actually a much smaller part of his life and more discreet, even though he came from Switzerland. There's a mountain in Switzerland named after him. He's really acknowledged across the country, and there are many schools, many neighborhoods. Stanford University has a statue of Agassiz on its campus. That's actually, they're considering bringing it down. There's an elementary school in Chicago. There are many elementary schools that are named after.
They're stripping the name now. In the last few years, this is going on. And I know there's the debate, we're right now in divisive times about this concept of being a cancel culture. Like, you can't erase history. There's a lot of dark parts of history. So where do you draw the line? And when it comes to Agassiz, I know that we're going to have one of the spokespeople on for the trustees to share more about what went into their decision. But after you did your research, in the end, what do you think it ultimately was that you couldn't honor this man and have Agassiz Rock named after him anymore?
It's not even like really honoring, although honoring, of course, is part of it, because you've named a property out of a civic property, a property that's open to the public after a human being, right? So that's an issue. But really, I think for the trustees, I suspect, and we did speak to them, but I suspect it was more a matter of the fact that they have young people that come through these properties, and you need to actually explain it. I know for me personally, 10 years ago, I was a Girl Scout troop leader for my daughter, and we did a trip to Agassiz Rock, and when I researched Agassiz and who he was, and I came across this, what I chose to do was I chose to just share it with the girls. But that comes up again and again. Here's another issue, though, that's actually pretty relevant. In Cambridge, there is an elementary school that was called the Agassiz School. As a matter of fact, Paul Clark, our assistant editor, went to the Agassiz School. It was an elementary school in Cambridge. So we have all these kids who are going through Agassiz. It actually happens to be in a sort of a very racially mixed part of Cambridge. So it really is sort of an inclusive kind of neighborhood. So they moved to change the name. And in the process of changing the name, they came across, and get this, do you know that the first African-American principal of a public school in the United States of America was at the Agassiz School? Wow.
That's unbelievable.
So they've renamed it to the Baldwin School in honor of her. But I'll tell you, what about the kid? What about her? What about the fact that she was at this milestone in history? She's teaching at a school, the namesake of which believed that her race was inferior. Mm-hmm. I think that gets at the reason why these things are happening. Right,
and I know we are going to be joined, we are going to share a Zoom interview we were able to do. We pre-recorded it with a woman now new on board with the trustees, Janelle McNish, and she's gonna help us sort of navigate where the decision came with the trustees, and also, when we're gonna see possibly the new naming happening. So we'll take a break and go to that now.
Thank you for having me here to share this news and to talk more about this. I'm super excited to be here. So we started this process of thinking about renaming Agassiz Rock late last year. We received a lot of inquiries about this and wanted to really do our own internal research. As you can imagine, the trustees, the reservation, we have a deep commitment to history and to really making sure that we get it accurately recorded and understand it. So we spent a lot of time really doing research on Agassiz and both his scientific background, but also his beliefs. And so after really coming to terms with exactly who he was and how his values did not coincide with ours as an organization, we made a decision that we were going to rename Agassiz Rock.
And of course, it's the headlines in our Manchester Cricket, which Erica has covered. And I'm curious about the feedback you're getting. And I know you're getting feedback as well about the renaming.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You never know sometimes when you make these decisions, being that there's been a huge amount of positive feedback that we've received. We've gotten some requests and ideas about names. And so it's really been really great to get the community to both understand Agassiz's history, which I'm actually not quite sure a lot of people actually did, probably even before your article went out. Knew about his history, but really understanding and supporting our decision and really wanting to really see this move forward. So it's been a lot of positive feedback that we've received in the very short time we've made that announcement.
Well, one thing I will say is that for our community, it has popped up every once in a while. It is something that I would describe as historically, it's been sort of a source of discomfort that when somebody in our readership, when a local resident stumbles across it, they express it to sort of the Board of Selectmen or around. But I think that recently, as we wrote up and as we discussed in our interview, that really recently it had this feeling of a lot more pronounced. It was a much more pronounced. This is a more pronounced time.
We can't deny the fact that what's going on in our nation and what organizations similar to the trustees, conservation organizations, historical organizations are really grappling with both their own history, our history as a country, and really how we want to create history, as I like to say, how we want to move forward, both honoring history, because you can't rewrite history. You can accurately tell it, you can tell it holistically, being able to understand that there are multiple views of how history actually took place. So making sure that you have multiple voices about that history being told, but you can't rewrite history. And so how do we use this as an opportunity to educate people on history? And how do we use this as an opportunity to create new dialogue around history and how we want to create the future that we all want to see as we move ahead?
So when you have a group of school children that are going to go walk at Agassiz Rock, now that it's going to be renamed, what do you explain to the children about Agassiz? What do we tell our kids?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. That's one of the things that we're really working hard to do, is not just to change the name, but to be able to tell this history and use it as an education opportunity. And so part of what you'll see is that it'll be both a name change on our website and the actual signage at the property site, but the website will allow us to really tell the history in a way that we hope allows for dialogue and allows for truth telling, but also tells Agassiz's entire story, not just his scientific background.
It's funny that what he's known for is this work with glaciers and the Ice Age, but
Right.
really predominantly his life was really about polygenism, which is sort of the anti-Darwin. He was almost a pundit that would go against Darwinism, which at the time was really kind of a neck and neck, theory. And clearly we know more now.
Right. So give us the timeline and how you're going to the process for renaming.
Really hopeful that this will be by the end of the year, and so that's kind of personal goal, but also kind of what we're really pushing towards. Because again, this is part of a holistic view that we're looking at, so not just renaming Agassiz Rock. So the idea is hopefully by the end of the year we'll be both having name change and signage change on our website, and possibly more to come at the trustees. But our again, for us, it's really important to create a process that we review and are thoughtful about when we think about renaming.
All right, Janelle, a little bit more about your background. You just became part of the trustees team in May. Just what are you focused on, your role and your goals?
I oversee community impact, which is really 3 key areas. I lead our volunteer program, which is a statewide initiative, over 2,000 volunteers. Our goal is to be the premier volunteer organization. So when you think about volunteering, you think about the trustees. So that's our aspiration and goal. I oversee and lead our statewide diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. So we are in the process of creating a strategy for our organizational, internal and external inclusion initiatives. And then I also oversee community engagement. So really thinking about how we best engage with communities. Trustees at its core has really been a community partner, so it's nothing new for us to engage with communities, but really helping us think statewide about the best approaches for community engagement and really how we can maximize our work in the community.
And the trustees are managing, 120 properties?
120 properties, 27,000 acres across the Commonwealth, everything from the Berkshires to the Capes and Islands. So we're an amazing organization. Everything, community gardens to farms to historical homes, beaches. I mean, we really oversee, and should I say is the best word, some pretty amazing historic and important special places in the Commonwealth.
We wrap this up. Anything you want to tell our community and the town, just sort of, the ongoing relationship, and again, just sort of what the future holds for, going up to what was Agassiz Rock and having this as a really still a jewel in our community. It's a beautiful property.
At the core of who we are as an organization, what we're really aspiring to be is really to create spaces of inclusion and belonging for everyone. And so that's what we're aspiring to do with this name change, is creating both a celebration, someone that holds similar values to our organization, but also creating spaces where everyone feels welcome and everyone feels that they belong. And so that is what you will continue to see. The name will definitely be different, and there's so many amazing ideas out there, so it'll be exciting to see what it is. But what you will feel and experience will be that you belong there, you are welcome.
That was great, talking with Janelle, hearing more where the trustees are going with this, and I know the cricket will be doing lots of follow-ups until we see Agassiz Rock property renamed. And I don't know if the community's going to get involved with that down the road and be able to maybe submit some names. You mentioned that, but what do you think?
I think they should, and I think they will. I think the fact that we have 5 board of directors members for the trustees who are residents of Manchester, that's a big thing. And I think it's really great that she put, even though it was a personal timeline, I love that she said that she wanted to see it done by the end of the year.
Exactly. We're going to move over to talk about the Board of Selectmen and what's going on over at Town Hall. We're still dealing with the pandemic, of course, and COVID-19. What are you hearing at Town Hall in terms of protocols in place and how we're continuing to navigate in town?
Yeah, the town is, it's funny, the town's been really vigilant about sort of safety, really, in general. Singing Beach continues to be closed to non-residents, which I think people are now getting used to. They really are. But the COVID numbers don't lie. They're very steady. In Manchester, it's increased by only 1. Next door in Essex, which is related to us, they haven't moved in 5 weeks. 5 weeks they've had steady numbers. So knock on wood, we're doing okay. And we had, of course, the Gray Beach was closed for swimming, but that's now open again. So that's sort of what's going on. And they're just navigating things in general that have to do with the general public.
Right. And as well as the residents, I see the community, everybody's out wearing their masks, they're being mindful. and also the business community, which of course I'm part of. That there's been discussion about whether or not to do the Manchester tradition of the Festival by the Sea, but with the situation, it's just not going to be happening. However, I know you're involved with the planning. Possibly there'll be a sidewalk, like Manchester sidewalk sale with all the merchants the last weekend of August on Saturday, because it's also tax-free weekend, right? So what are you hearing about that? I know it's going to be before the Board of Selectmen to figure out how we could do something like that safely.
Yeah, Ken Reel at the Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce has really been trying to kind of advance this idea of recouping and kind of finding a way to do Festival by the Sea, which is one of our biggest events of the entire year. Typically, it's artisans that set up down at Masconomo Park and then at Reed Park and even down in front of Town Hall, typically. This year, there was a tentative move to recoup that and have it just at Masconomo Park. But I think in the last intervening weeks, I think that with the COVID numbers nationally, the state is becoming a little more conservative. We've moved it to a sidewalk sale, which honestly, I love the idea that we're going to continue an event. But I love the fact that it's actually going to be aimed squarely at the retailers downtown, because that's really the most important thing. It's the most important element.
We could use it. There's been a lot of tweaking, obviously, we're all doing and adjusting because of COVID-19, including what happened now. We had the graduation did take place for Manchester Essex Seniors Go Class 2020. Congratulations. The cricket, you were there with your team covering graduation. How did it all play out?
It was great, actually. I mean, there was some, rules of play. So families could only have 5 tickets per family to go. It took place on the football field. I think the football field should be like Person of the Year this year. We had our town hall. Exactly, our town meeting.
I've had a lot of fun on that football field.
Yeah,
Go Fight Win, Manchester Hornets. No.
So they actually had the event outside there. The weather was beautiful. And to be honest with you, we have a really big slideshow of photos, 35 photos that we have on the website, because it was so wonderful to see the event feel normal, and it did feel normal. You had the students, going across the stage to get their graduation degree, and then also they walked through. They didn't have to have masks on when they were walking, so you kind of had this feeling that it felt like normal, which was really nice, and people really had a great time.
Awesome. Another great time I want to share, will be in the Manchester Cricket, is the annual Manchester by the Sea fishing tournament has resurfaced in town. I have to use that term. It came back. It was on a hiatus since 2012. They had it for 19 years.
I know.
It was a fun family fishing tradition in town, and your husband was participating, Russ Brown. He's one of the legendary fishermen in town. I have to give him credit. He is quite good out there on the sea.
He's a legend in his own.
Old man in the sea. How about that, Russ? Anyway, we won't go there. But what happened, of course, was there was 2 couples in town. Nate Berkowitz and his wife Sally, I have to give a shout out to them, as well as Peter and Christina Yukins. They said it's time, but with COVID-19, they needed to do this in a safe way. So it was done with there was a lot of different things that took place. They were able to get like 90 anglers to participate and carry on that tradition in a new way. And so what we're going to do now actually is we're going to show some highlights from the fishing tournament that just took place. I was there 4 days out at sea, and we're going to have a big special Scoop Manchester, but with interviewing a lot of the fishermen and the families. But let's just show some highlights now, and we're going to reel you in. The Manchester by the Sea fishing tournament is back, and so are the bragging rights for the winners.
Hi, I'm Anthony Brown, and I won the first place for the fishing tournament, and I get bragging rights.
Hi there, I am Christina Yukins, and this weekend I won the Manchester by the Sea fishing tournament, and my fish was 46 inches.
67 adults and 34 kids under 12 signed up for 4 days of fun fishing with family and friends and following COVID-19 protocols. The anglers were given official rulers to measure their catch and submit photos in various categories for great prizes. And most of the stripers caught were released, and 10 of the entries were over 40 inches.
Boy, what do we got, Pammy?
A 40-plus incher, baby.
Congrats.
Game on.
We've got a 13 and over category, a 12 and under category, both from boat, from shore, and we've got some great prizes from local businesses.
We just got the prizes up on the website and all the results posted, so folks are on their way down now. Really looking forward to future years where we could have bigger gatherings and bring people together safely and really celebrate and see everybody's successes together.
Nate and Sally Berkowitz teamed up with Peter and Christina Yukins to revive the family-friendly tournament, which ended in 2012. Sally's parents ran the event for the Manchester Harbor Boat Club for 19 years, and her mom designed the tournament t-shirt every summer.
The pressure always came in June when I had to come up with a design, even though I had a year to do it. I work best under pressure. And the kids, there were so many kids from town who really had so much fun.
Now we have the second generation. These are parents who fished in the tournament and now want a tournament. Now on a tournament for their kids.
Dave and Michelle Bear are thrilled to pass the rod on to the next generation. The tournament brought Manchester's fishing community back together, and the fish stories and memories will continue.
Anyone who's viewing this and is interested in participating certainly should reach out. We have an Instagram handle at MBTS Fishing and a Facebook page, Manchester by the Sea Fishing Tournament, where you can contact us and see some of the photos of the tournament and some of the fish that were submitted, as well as reach out and find out ways that you can get involved. And the more folks that want to participate, the more we can continue to do events like this and make them better.
It was so different this year, I know. How did you like being out on the boat for 4 days?
4 days, I got my sea legs going, and I think I mentioned, I don't like to fish. I love being out on the sea. I don't know why I eat fish, but I learned a lot. I learned so many new terms about fishing, but what I saw was the camaraderie out there that was really nice. A lot of families coming together, and of course, very differently this year because they had the official ruler to measure their fish out versus bringing them in because they wanted to socially distance. And I think they just everyone just had a great time.
Yeah, it was a different feel, but it was really nice to see they had a good time. Usually, every year, and you know this, usually what they do is every day, like between 5 and 8 o'clock, they'd be down at the docks and you come in, you weigh in your fish. And you could see, and it was a fun thing to do just as a spectator, to watch people haul in, young kids coming in with their catches and sort of weighing them out. And that was a difference this year that was really interesting because this was just length, but it didn't sort of, weight wasn't a part of it. And I know there were a lot of fish that may have been slightly smaller, but that would have won in a normal year because they were so fat and hefty.
Right. Well, I learned a lot too about what's going on with the striper population out there, and a lot about just, everybody was sort of catching and releasing and trying to let the fish swim for another day. And next year you're going to be on board, right? We're going to get you out there with a rod. I feel it.
You'll see me jigging for mackerel.
Now we're going to move on. We're going to continue to talk about seafood because you've got something going on in the cricket about oysters.
Yeah, we're going to have, we're going to focus on a lot of things around food and oysters, but a couple of months ago we did a piece on the fact that in Cape Ann they're participating in something called the Massachusetts Bay Oyster Project, which is, they put last year in Gloucester 60,000, they implanted 60,000 baby oysters into the aquifer in the Inner Harbor. And the reason they're doing it is because one oyster can filter 240 gallons of water a day. Did you not?
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's a big move around the area of, the blue economy and around climate change and things like that. So this year we met up with a farmer from Wellfleet who came up to Manchester to Sand Dollar Cove and was shucking oysters for us, and we got some great pictures, and we have a whole profile on that.
All right, well, one thing I want to say is that the Manchester still has its groove going on because they're doing the Music in the Park series every Tuesday, and they've, kudos to all of them in the Parks and Recreation Department in town for figuring out a safe way to have shows. You do have to register. I've gone to some fun shows. I know the cricket, you've been there.
Yeah.
You've sent Ava with her drone to film it.
Exactly. Ava Glass came over and filmed a drone shot, a perfect shot of the grid, an overhead shot of the grid, which is now common at sort of public festivals and things, where you get a square and it's your own square. It's a large space and you just know where to go. It's just so easy and rational. And I agree. The town was early on this and they've done a great job.
I went to a show recently that was Jittery Jack. and he gives you the jitters. I felt like he was like jumping jack, but he is from Manchester, and he said it was the first time he'd ever been invited to participate in the bandstand, so he was excited about that. So we're going to hear from Jittery Jack.
Let that rhythm go. Let's go rock and roll. We don't care for the but we let that rock and roll. We're gonna rock it. We're gonna roll it. Yeah, we're gonna rock it. We're gonna roll it. We don't care for the but we let that rock and roll.
Well, Jack's my middle name, and I've known to be jittery, so, you know. It's really exciting to be here in the hometown because we actually this is the first year we were asked to do it. I don't know why, but this was the first year. And so I was excited because it's home, you know, and we travel a lot, especially in the summertime. So to be able to do a hometown gig was a fun thing to have to look forward to. Of course, now it's probably going to be the only gig I do this year. You know, the last time we played, we were in Tennessee in February. It's great to be able to be playing the one gig we play right here in Manchester by the Sea on the bandstand.
Tonight is our fourth Music in the Park. We're excited to have Jittery Jack and Miss Amy. They are our local band that we've never had before, so a lot of local people are excited to have them on our Seaside stage. Because of COVID, I was actually really nervous. It was really helpful to have my director, Cheryl Marshall, kind of push me and think outside the box on how we can accommodate to everyone and bring music back into everyone's normal everyday life, but do it safely. So we created a link and we have everyone register. We have 200 squares available, and it comes people first come, first serve, so that people can sit wherever they want. If they feel uncomfortable, they can get up and kind of move over. We have asked that everyone wears a mask if they cannot socially distance safely.
I love Jittery Jack. You know, I mean, I like all music. There's not much I don't like. You know, it's a great mix of music. It appeals. There's something for everyone. It's reggae, it's rockabilly, it's cover bands. You know, it's the big band at the end. It's something for everyone, young and old, and people get up and dance. And we were all really bummed that they weren't going to do this year. And I was so thrilled that they are doing this.
Jittery Jack, you know, he was really fun. He's basically rockabilly.
Yeah, I love it.
He's a silly rockabilly, but it was really fun, and I'm looking forward to reggae because my best friend ever, who works here at the Cricket, Susan Anthony, and I, we're going to go down and we're going to groove. She promised me that.
That would be great.
We'll show no video of that. So we're going to wrap it up, but what are you working on you want to share in town right now? What's going to be next in the Manchester Cricket?
Well, one thing that's really been a great highlight of this year is the stories that Jim Benke does on nature. He's an amazing writer, and he's an amazing photographer as well. And he's done things like the coyotes of Cape Ann, and he's done all our striped bass. He's done a couple pieces on the striped bass population of Cape Ann, etc. Well, we also have Chris Straub, who does great stories for us around Essex and great, restaurant stories. The two of them have teamed up, and they're going to do a really fantastic 2-part story on bees.
Oh, wow.
The bee population in Cape Ann, which I think is really fascinating. It's beautiful. I saw some of the early photos. They're just amazing. So.
Excellent. With that, can I say buzz off? No, I'm kidding. We're going to wrap it up here.
You're feeling cheesy today.
I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm so grateful to be here with you at your Cricket offices. Of course, people need to go onto thecricket.com to check out the paper, and of course subscribe, because you're doing an amazing job covering the town.
Thank you.
And so we'll see you next month, and that'll do it. So I'm Miss Brown Swanson here with Erica Brown, and have a great day, everybody. Be safe out there.